Walking into this manor house initially was like stepping into a time machine. The floors, the ceilings, the walls, even the furniture. I'm talking 70s colors, textures, and fringe everywhere. And not the cool, groovy kind of 70s vibe, more like the outdated, dingy kind of thing.
Oh, hello. That is pretty great.
You will not believe what this house looked like when we first bought it. It hadn't been renovated since the early to mid 70s, over 50 years ago. Now, before I show you everything, we tried to think back on what we remember of the 70s.
The 1970s? Or our 70s? Like, there weren't a lot of clean colors that I remember in the 70s. There was a lot of designs, paisley. It's things that you look at now and you're like, oh yeah, that's gotta be the 70s, right? Like,
It's so obvious.
yeah, it's so obvious.
Some design periods are timeless, but this one, not so much. This house was originally built in the early 1700s and has been through many design periods. But when we bought it, the last time it had been really renovated was in the 1970s. Let's start with the floors.
I remember specifically, because I spent a lot of the 70s very low to the ground, right? And I think, like every other household in America in the 1970s, we had thick shag carpeting.
What color was yours?
I was gonna say it was orange, and I remember the feel of it under my hands, right? Like, you know, crawling around on it.
I'm sitting on one of the carpets that is definitely super matted down. Wasn't a horrible color, although kind of hard to tell what it originally was, and has this awful stain on it because there was a red area rug here along with a giant plant on top of it that clearly leaked and stained the carpeting. In different rooms throughout the property, there were green rugs, blue rugs, there were these brown carpet squares that were kind of crunchy. Someone told me they might have been made out of coconut husks. I'm not sure if that was a thing in the 70s. Originally, when I saw those on the pictures, I thought maybe it was some sort of wood parquet flooring, but I was sorely disappointed. There were even carpets in the bathrooms. One of my favorites is the carpet on this scale that matched the carpet on the floor, but we're gonna get to the bathrooms in their own section. There was also tile floor, particularly in front of the fireplace. And in the kitchen, there was an old linoleum floor. The kitchen was something else. Even the ceiling was pure 70s, and it's an example of the wood paneled walls that were all over the house, both upstairs and downstairs. The wood paneling was not super high quality. At first I thought maybe it's kind of chalet-like, but the more we looked at it, it made the space really dark, and it was not what we were looking for. As we're talking about walls, we have to mention the wallpaper. One of the primary examples was in the walk-in closet of the master bedroom. Now, when we first saw it, we saw little glimpses of it behind the fringe and all the stuff that was crammed in the closet. But once it was emptied out, we could see that it was the whole space. The downstairs bathroom is another example of wallpaper that is just, I don't even know what adjective to use. But you can see this wallpaper for yourself. Now, before we continue with the bathrooms, which are incredible, I wanted to try to get a sense of what was going on in Switzerland around this time. Do you know anything about Switzerland? Switzerland in the 70s?
No.
I don't really either.
It existed.
It did.
It was before women could vote.
Oh God, that's right. That's right. You heard that correctly. Women got the right to vote at a federal level in Switzerland in 1971, but it took until 1990 for women to have the right to vote in every canton in Switzerland. The only other thing we could think of about the 1970s in Switzerland was the James Bond movie that was filmed here.
The one filmed in Lauterbrunnen on the Schilthorn.
Yep.
Yeah, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. The only James Bond film with George Lazenby.
It was primarily filmed on the top of the Schilthorn mountain. It actually came out in 1969, so just a little bit before the period that we're looking at here. And this building and rotating restaurant is still there. We've actually been to it. There is still, to this day, a little bit of a 007 feel up there. So there you go. There's a little taste of what Switzerland kind of sort of had going on at this time. And now back to the bathrooms. The house has 2 full bathrooms and 2 half bathrooms. Let's continue with that downstairs half bath. This is just the toilet and a sink. The blue tiles and the orange toilet seat to accent that incredible wallpaper. Upstairs in the half bath is where we saw that crazy matching carpet with the scale. It also was tiled floor to ceiling, as you can see here. Now, the 2 full bathrooms made an even stronger impression. They're sizable and they're stacked on top of each other, so they both have this odd sort of triangular shape to them. Both tiled floor to ceiling throughout. This is the main floor vibe that you can see. And the upstairs master bathroom is what we affectionately referred to as the green bathroom. It was completely green. Green tiles everywhere, green toilet, green sinks, green bidet. Now, we had some friends who said maybe this was a cool retro vibe that they would consider keeping. For various reasons, that will definitely not be happening. The other tile I wanted to highlight was the tile backsplash in the kitchen.
I do remember the tile from your family's house, which was built in the 70s, and the tile in the kitchen, which was like a cream brown tile. It never looked dirty.
So I remember my dad laying those tiles. He built that countertop when I was really little.
Yeah.
Now this last section, I want to show you some of the furniture and the lamps. Yes, the lamps get their own section that were in this house. Of course, by the time we took ownership, all of this had been moved out. I was particularly captivated by these fringe lamps, ceiling lamps that hung in, I think, 4 of the rooms. I've never seen anything like that in person. But then looking at the footage, I also noticed some of the other 70s lamps that were sitting around. Obviously, we're getting rid of all of this. And actually, you can see some of the older, more historic stuff that we uncovered under the wall paneling the carpets, the tiles. You can see that in our demolition video, which I will link in the description. I hope you liked this video. Were you around in the 70s?
Not having been an adult during that time period, I am certain it was pretty great.
Whether you were around or not, let us know what you think, and be sure to subscribe and follow along to see what happens next on our Manor House project.
So I think our refrigerator was avocado green, but had like faux wood paneling on the outside of it. The wood paneling, yeah.